Hey everybody, welcome back to another Jackson Jetsetting cruise ship tips and tricks video. Today I'm talking about my cruise on the MSC Seashore and all of the tips and tricks that you need before stepping on board. There's a lot of things with MSC that's a little bit different than other cruise lines, so I do want to detail all of those differences in this video. Again, if you love cruise content, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out. So the MSC Seashore launched in 2021 and it is part of the Seaside Evo class for MSC. Holds almost 5,800 passengers and there are tons of ocean views everywhere. The ship is really well designed for lots and lots of that ocean view that you really want from that cruise vacation. So it's definitely a ship that I recommend for warm weather itineraries because it was specifically designed for that. So there's a waterfront promenade that encircles almost the entire ship. It's really amazing because you can just go on a leisurely stroll. For my cruise, I sailed out of Port Canaveral's Terminal 10 down to Ocean Cay, which is MSC's private island. Absolutely gigantic island. You can check out a full tour of the island experience on the channel and I'll link to that down below. Now this video is specifically for tips and tricks, but if you are looking for a full tour of the MSC Seashore, I have that up on the channel as well. My first tip for sailing on the MSC Seashore is if it is within your budget, please sail in the Yacht Club. The Yacht Club, it was my first time in the Yacht Club and I wanted to really detail all the full experience. The full review of the Yacht Club experience is coming to the channel shortly. But overall, it was just an amazing experience and night and day between the experience that I had on my first cruise on the MSC Divina last year. In addition, the Yacht Club has its own private sun deck. There's a pool as well as multiple hot tubs, sun loungers, cabanas for rent at a reasonable price, I might add, as well as a small buffet out there for breakfast and lunch. It's really an amazing experience and I highly recommend doing it. I found a decent deal for my 3-night sailing in an inside cabin. They actually have inside cabins in the Yacht Club, which is a nice surprise. For me sailing solo, it was less than $1,400, which it's a pretty good deal considering all of the things that are included in Yacht Club, including the premium extra beverage package. So you get free drinks within the Yacht Club as well as anywhere else on the ship. And it does work on shore at Ocean Cay if your itinerary includes a stop there. There's a lot of other inclusions in Yacht Club, like reserved seating at the shows. The ship does use destination elevators, but your key card actually allows you to skip everyone else there and get an express elevator wherever you're going. I used this perk many times. That might have been my favorite perk of the entire cruise. Now, a major highlight of any voyage in the Bahamas on MSC is going to be a visit to Ocean Cay. So this is a marine preserve. This actually used to be an island that was meant to like mine sand, which is pretty crazy. And now they've turned it into a lush oasis with migrating birds that come in. They planted tons and tons of trees here and that really shows. A lot of the island's still kind of growing in. It is truly massive though, so there is plenty of room for the entire ship to spread out. And then if you are in the Yacht Club, another great perk is that you do get the ocean house all to yourself. So you have a private lunch there. It's a 3-course meal as well as a full bar and private beach area. There were a couple other beach areas that I thought were a little bit nicer in terms of just views than the ocean clubs, but you really just can't beat the service in there. So overall, I think most of the Yacht Clubs are going to be hanging out there. I will say if you are not sailing in Yacht Club and you're on board the MSC Seashore, you're going to wait in a lot of lines. There are ways that you can avoid that. So one thing about MSC that you do need to know is that sometimes operationally it is not going to be an amazing experience if you're not in the Yacht Club. That's why I did want to compare the two. During my first voyage, I experienced lots of long lines for customer service, like my credit card not being linked, so I couldn't make any purchases on board. I had to wait in line for an ATM to basically enter my credit card information because the app wasn't working. It was all a very glitchy experience. On Ocean Cay, I saw the lines for the regular buffet for everyone. It's only open for a few hours and the line was incredibly long. I would have been really upset waiting in that. Now, before sailing, you're definitely going to want to download the MSC app. I've sailed most of the major cruise lines at this point, and I think MSC is probably at the very bottom of the list in terms of apps. On board, it did function. They basically upload the schedule, but it's not very intuitive in any way. Other cruise lines have this down pretty well. Even on Princess, you're actually able to order drinks, and because of your medallion, all the technology on the ship allows bartenders to find your exact position in these lounges. It's really amazing. MSC has none of that. Still, you're going to want to peruse the app for any specials before you board. Most of the time, you're going to find some sort of deal before getting on board. The MSC Seashore offers several complimentary dining venues, including the incredible chaotic and packed marketplace buffet. Seriously, this buffet was absolutely crazy. When I was filming my full ship tour on embarkation day and any other time that I walked through, I was curious just to see how chaotic it actually is. Most ships, the buffet is pretty nuts, but it just seems like there is not enough space here in the marketplace buffet. There are also main dining rooms that are included in your voyage, though the lines for those can get quite long as well. The specialty dining, though, is quite impressive. My favorites include Butcher's Cut, which is the steakhouse on board. It's kind of your classic steakhouse. I don't think they're doing anything revolutionary in there, but it is solid. Another highlight is Ocean Cay's seafood restaurant, focusing on fresh seafood. And there's also hibachi at Kaido Sushi, and even fresh Mexican cuisine at Hola Taco. The Mexican cuisine was actually quite good. I do live in Arizona, so I know a thing or two about Mexican food, and it was actually really good. If specialty dining is your thing, they do offer dining packages, but just know that there's a separate set menu for these packages. It's harder to deviate from these special menus I've found. That's very strict, and there's a lot of stuff that's on the other menus that you may want to try. So I do recommend maybe looking at the menus online and seeing if you want to make that trade-off before purchasing. The MSC Seashore boasts a ton of bars and restaurants, as you can expect. It's got a New York Times Square theme, which is pretty fun. I spent a lot of my time at the Top Sail Lounge because that was probably the most luxurious option on board for me. But the cocktail bar down in the restaurant district was also a standout. And then you don't want to miss MSC's signature champagne bar that's serving bubbly and fine wines. Definitely visit the Vinci chocolate bar, which has some different chocolate cocktails and treats and things like that. Entertainment on MSC Seashore was less than impressive to me. They had shows inside the Madison Theater. A Beatles cover band wasn't too bad, but the Broadway style shows featured pretty uneven singing and dancing to me. They had a comedian on board, and he was doing a lot of crowd work and wasn't too bad. So overall, for cruise ship comedians, I thought he was quite good. Are also shows in the Cabaret Rouge, which is a cool venue because it actually sinks into two different decks. It's got a sunken floor stage, which is pretty cool. And there's also a bar in there, so that's where they're doing karaoke sometimes. Different events throughout the cruise in there. Keep in mind that shows are first come, first serve. You do get reserved seating in the Yacht Club, but I really never had problems finding a seat even outside of the Yacht Club seating. It was pretty open. Cabin choice is pretty important on board. It is a pretty tall ship, so if you are going to want to be up on the pool decks often, I recommend being on one of the higher floors. And then all of the indoor lounges are going to be on some of the lower decks, so maybe being closer to those if you find yourself hanging out there more. It's just going to save you that elevator wait, and again, these are destination elevators, which tend to not work as great as other elevator options. Of course, there are different types of cabins on board: inside, ocean view, balconies, and suites. I stayed in an inside cabin, and for a 3-night voyage, loved it. But if you're on a longer sailing, you may want that ocean view or balcony, the balcony being the most popular cabin on board. Pretty good deals on MSC for cabins. They are priced very low. Just know that there is a lot of nickel and diming on board. It is going to be a lot different than some of your more American cruise lines. There's just going to be things that are going to cost money, and a lot of people get upset about that. But there's still plenty included on board. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner in the main dining rooms, your buffet, and then, of course, the pizza on board MSC is some of the best at sea. I think I rank it #1. So those are my tips and tricks for the MSC Seashore. I'd love to hear down in the comments if you've ever sailed on board, and if you have any tips and tricks for the other viewers here. But if not, thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.